Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Brightingham, Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Klopfenstein, Commissioner T. Wynn, Commissioner O'Neill,
Here.
Commissioner Solorio,
Here.
Vice Chair Kim Wynn,
Here.
and Chair Bowie.
Here. Oral communication, do we have any card?
Not for housing.
No, I see not, so we close oral communication, and next agenda item would be the consent items, 2A, B, C.
I'll move them. Second.
Please call for the vote. Any matter from,
Motion received, 9 yes votes.
any matter from the meeting?
Nope.
See not, so we will adjourn the meeting for the next regular housing authority meeting to be on Tuesday, March 26th. I would like to return the control back to the City Council. Okay.
All right. Welcome to the February 26th meeting of the Garden Grove City Council.
Your work here is done.
Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Councilmember Brightingham,
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill,
Here.
Councilmember T. Wynn,
Here.
Councilmember Bowie,
Here.
Councilmember K. Wynn,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klopfenstein.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. Can we have the invocation by Maria Stipe, followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember John O'Neill?
Thank you. If everybody could please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance as we meet here tonight to conduct the business of our city. Help us to keep in mind that we are here to serve the community and enable us to make our decisions so that we may do what is best for all of the citizens of Garden Grove. Amen.
Thank you. If you remove your caps, place your right hand over your heart and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All righty. Takes us on to presentations. We do have a couple items, starting with 1A, which is Road to the 2020 Census, as presented by representatives of the U.S. Census, I believe, Mayor Bao-Win. Good to see you.
Hi. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure to be with you here this evening in the beautiful city of Garden Grove. I think we have a set loaded up. Ready? Okay, there we are. So I'm Bao-Win, Partnership Specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. And our motto is that we count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. So why do we do a census? It's required by the U.S. Constitution, right up front in Article 1, Section 2. And it happens every 10 years, and it's been happening every 10 years since 1790. It's about fair representation. So the apportionment in the U.S. House of Representatives is determined based on the census numbers. In California, we have 53 seats in the House of Representatives, and that number hasn't changed after the 2010 census. But just for comparison, if you look at Texas, Texas gained 4 seats, and New York and Ohio lost 2 seats after 2010. And it also means $675 billion of federal funding awarded annually to vital programs, many programs that the city of Garden Grove utilizes. And it's also about redistricting. So I imagine since Garden Grove is a city that goes by district elections, you'll look at the numbers and maybe adjust some of the boundaries. And so for California, it comes out to be about $76 billion annually. It comes to be about $2,000 per person. I want to assure everybody that the census is confidential. It's required by law. I myself, along with every single person that works for the Census Bureau, has taken an oath for life to protect that information. And there are strict penalties for that. So also, in addition to that, the Census Bureau does not share any personally identifiable information with any federal agency, including the US president. And 2020 will be the first time ever. It'll be much easier because folks will be able to respond online and also by phone. So there will be 13 languages, and that includes English. The paper form will also be available if folks don't respond, and that will be available in English and Spanish. So we're focusing on the partnership program. That's where we've already begun some of the work with the wonderful city staff to engage the community. Because really, the census is a big effort, and we need all of your help as trusted voices in your community, as leaders in your district and cities, to make sure that folks respond. Because this will change that freeway sign for the city of Garden Grove in terms of our population, but also determines how much federal funding Garden Grove receives. And we want to assure folks that we'll have support in the various languages. In addition to those 12 non-English languages that will be available online and by phone, we'll also have partnerships in the community with those who are serving the other languages. So we'll have language glossary cards and language ID cards available for folks to help them guide through that process. And we're focusing on the hard-to-count population. And the hard-to-count population includes veterans, the homeless, children under 5. A lot of folks that did respond in 2010 for their families, they forgot to include their kids under 5. So we want to remind everybody that the kids count. If there's a child that's going to be born before or on Census Day 2020, please include your child, even if that child is still in the hospital. Senior citizens, people with disabilities, renters, the foreign-born and immigrant population, farm workers, migrant workers, Native Hawaiians, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, refugees, those who traditionally do not trust government, and those who are limited English proficient. And I just want to draw your attention to the low response areas in our country. And you can utilize the tool on census.gov/Rome to look at the city of Garden Grove and identify those areas where folks have traditionally not participated as much. So we're also encouraging cities and leaders and trusted voices to form or join a complete count committee. I know we're moving in that direction here in the city of Garden Grove. And so this is what it looks like. For example, the mayor or highest elected official or their designee would chair the committee, along with perhaps an educational leader, faith-based leaders, and those who serve the community in various nonprofit capacities. And our timeline here, we're currently in the awareness phase as we move into 2020. And folks can start responding by phone and online in March. And if they don't, we'll remind them. There'll be a reminder phase. And after that, at the end of July 2020, we want to thank everybody for supporting this huge national effort. And some of our strategies, in addition to forming those complete count committees, include partnering with community and nonprofit social service organizations, faith-based groups. I've had a couple meetings with folks at the Diocese of Orange, which is here in the city of Garden Grove, partnering with folks who serve the foreign-born and immigrant communities, bringing statistics into schools. If you're a teacher or a principal and you want to bring some stats and curricula, it's available online at census.gov/schools. Certainly partnering with the media, including ethnic media, and having mobile response tables and certainly partnering with trusted voices in the community, and then thanking everybody for this collaborative effort. So here are some key dates. I want to focus in on 2019. We'll be opening up 2 field offices in Orange County, one in the city of Santa Ana and one in the city of Fullerton. And we have begun recruiting already. So folks can go on to 2020census.gov/jobs. We'll be hiring 1,600 folks for Orange County. That's a big effort in itself. So please promote and share that with everybody on your social media and whatnot. The jobs pay around $20 an hour, around there. And again, the website is 2020census.gov/jobs. So the qualifications are you have to be a U.S. citizen, pass a background check. There's a preference for veterans. And there are also supervisory and management positions available as well. So next steps, we want to get excited about this. Let folks know April 1st this year will be 1 year out from Census Day 2020. So if you're going to post something on April 1st, maybe let your friends and family and followers on social media know that we're 1 year out and it's no joke. The census is coming. Certainly invite us to your networking meetings and help us mobilize this big effort and make everybody count in your city. And here's my contact. If you have any further information, be happy to answer any of your questions and be on this road with you to Census 2020. Thank you very much, Mayor, for your attention.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just, from a city manager standpoint, we've been tracking some of this project as we've been going on. It really, I don't think we can understate the importance of getting an accurate count. We really need to start thinking about doing this to make sure that our community is not undercounted. I think we really need to take on a full campaign over the coming year and a half. We'll be putting some of this information online so people can see it. I'll be enlisting the staff from our planning department and others to help with this. We all know how many times Chief Elgin has said, we don't have 180,000 people in Garden Grove, we have 200,000. And that's why we need more police officers. Well, as Specialist Nguyen has pointed out, we have, getting an accurate count will ensure that we get our fair share of CDBG, federal block grant dollars. It'll make us more competitive in applying for even state of California grants. If we have an accurate count of the number of kids and people using our recreation facilities, it'll help us be more competitive for getting grants, because the fact is the numbers are the numbers of folks who are using our facilities, so we're entitled to have the accurate number that we need. So, our representative from the census, we all know we have a strong and significant immigrant population here in our community. And so we have to make sure that people aren't afraid to let us know how many people are living in their homes. It's not just a citizenship issue. We'll have some families that have large families that won't want to tell us the full number of people in their households because they're afraid of code enforcement somehow wanting to get involved and have them leave. So these are all significant things that we really have to pay attention to. We've talked about it internally with some of our staff, so we'll be partnering with you, I'm sure, and enlisting all of you to help us. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 1B, and this is Code Enforcement 2.0. It's presented by Community and Economic Development.
Back to that.
Go ahead. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. This evening, it's been about a year since we came before the council highlighting code enforcement activities. Today, we want to share an update and highlight some of the changes that have been made in our code enforcement program. I've asked David Dent, your chief building official, and our code enforcement supervisor, Pete Roque, to highlight some of those changes coming online. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to David and Pete, and they'll walk through some of the changes coming online.
So, go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. David Dent, Chief Building Official.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, Pete Roque, Code Enforcement Supervisor.
All right, so I just want to start by saying thank you guys for letting us come up here and give this presentation. As Lisa mentioned, it's been close to about a year or so that we were up here before, giving you the 101 on code enforcement. Well, today we're here excited to introduce our new Code Enforcement 2.0. And what that actually means is not necessarily a true fresh start, but just a new attitude, a new way of code enforcement being actually administered here in Garden Grove. And it's been, like I said, a year in the making. We've taken on what council has given us as far as a directive, what we've heard out in the community, and from our internal staff, everything that's been taken into consideration is now developed into what is now considered Code Enforcement 2.0. So let's get started with the overview of the program. So far, code enforcement brings in typically about 5,000 or so code enforcement cases annually. It's been steady throughout the years. It's been something that really hasn't digressed from that particular level of enforcement. The city's been the same size. As we know, the population is quite increasing. So these things are getting to a point where we need to stay in front and be a little more proactive. As we all know, when it comes to public safety, code enforcement is actually the first line of defense. If we can handle some of those things ahead of time, then the property can be addressed in a way such that it saves on our public safety and toll on both our PD and our fire department. So again, our typical cases that we get are maintenance debris, parking, and unpaved and miscellaneous residential issues. With the 2.0, we're still addressing those particular issues, but we're also going to be expanding some of the things that we've done. And to expand some of the things that we've done, we've actually initiated a lot of technological advances that allow citizens to be able to get to us a lot more conveniently and a lot sooner than typical. Before, we'll have a thing where they'll come in, fill out an application, and that gets basically processed through our department. But now we've opened up web apps, we got online notifications, and our case management software has allowed the citizens to actually be able to get those complaints in quicker and to stay up to date on where they're at in the process.
Okay.
And that, along with our great IT department, has been able to put together these things that have allowed our department and our staff to use them out in the field and be a little more proactive. Now, again, some of the big things that are changing with the department are, if you guys didn't know, there was 2 divisions of code enforcement, in particular in Garden Grove. There was the actual code enforcement department, and then there was a building abatement department. Property maintenance was dealing with code enforcement, whereas substandard construction was the building abatement department. With this new shift, some of the duties are now becoming more the traditional code enforcement department, where they'll handle primarily 90% of those complaint issues, meaning that they're going to be the first response to those. This will help out, because again, we all talk about customer service and how does that relate to code enforcement. But for the most part, that's a big thing when the citizens are trying to reach the building department or the staff on how to get those complaints dealt with. And with that being said, code enforcement with this new 2.0 will be the first response to all building and safety related code enforcement issues relating to both property and substandard. That's going to be a shift. We're going through that transition, but that's going to be the thing, so there's no confusion as to which of those subdivisions are going to be the first response to the complaints. And again, we're also going to be doing more focused efforts with task force, including some of our high priority issues, STRs, and now soon we'll go into a couple of the other program focuses. But for the most part, as we all know, for the past 3 or 4 months, we've been getting inundated with the STR complaints. We're getting around the time with the season for the summer. We got Disney World, or Disneyland, sorry, and all the things that happen at the convention center. So we're ramping up with that. And again, to focus more on those programs, we're going to have Pete kind of delve into some of the details of that.
Can I see your pen? Sure. Thank you, David. So one of the things that we recently focused on was in our short-term rental program. We actually partnered up with a third-party software company that was assist us in helping find these short-term rentals. To date, within the last 5 years, I believe we found about 100 short-term rentals, and once we acquired the software, we found about 80, like within a week's time. So, and we notified everybody. There was a lot of education involved, a lot of warnings, advising folks that if they didn't comply, we would begin the citation process. And since then, there's been a major drop in short-term rentals, but some people are still not adhering. So we've actually started enforcing some of those provisions. We're also going into a motel enforcement task force. One of the things that we found, there's a high level of calls for police services in some of these motels where there's a lot of criminal activity. There's people that have been living in these motels. For example, this is a picture of our last task force. You see the police in there. People that have been there for over like 10, 20 years. And I mean, some of them have living in hoarding conditions or substandard conditions, mold, those kind of things. So we're going around ensuring that these motels come into compliance with our current code regulations. Wow. Just a little quick back. We're also including fire, the police department, health, child services in these task forces. So, I mean, it's a collaborative effort to get these places into compliance. Also, another program that we have is we have a tobacco enforcement program. We were awarded a grant from the Department of Justice, which we were able to fund a 2-year position for the reduction of underage smoking. One of the things is we are now going into the commercial areas while we're regulating signage, tobacco sales, electronic cigarettes, educating the public, making sure they have the proper signage, making sure that improper signage is removed. And so this is a 2.5-year grant-funded position. And not only that, but they will be addressing other commercial issues such as blight or illegal signage and business license requirements. Also, we have a proactive code enforcement program. We actually started this last week, where we're going into specific neighborhoods, advising folks that they need to kind of step up their community pride. We have a couple check boxes, such as reducing the amount of vegetation, cutting the lawn during times of drought, watering the lawn, missing addresses, inoperable vehicles, cars with the flat tires, on jack stands, those kind of things. Outside storage, folks that are using their side yard as just dumping areas. So we're enforcing these kind of things. And most of this stuff is done by our volunteers, which we'll get into in a little bit. And also we're expanding our community outreach, neighborhood meetings, workshops, a couple TV programming such as interviews and stuff like that, presentations, and we're also having a big push in May for our Building and Safety Month. We need to. And just talk about a little bit of staff now. Switch it back over to David. All right.
Well, we save the best for last. So what we want to tell you is that one of the biggest things is that, as we all know, with the funding, with staffing, it's very limited. So Pete and I have made an effort to make the most of our resources that we have. Starting with a little bit of the history of the staffing, they were back in the police department back in 2007 to 2011. They had 5 officers back then. Then they came over to the Community Economic Development Department, where they were reduced to 4 officers. And again, all these are a reduction and an increase in staff based on the same amount of code enforcement cases that have been consistent throughout the years. And then from there, they've came over to Building and Safety, like I said, a little over a year. And I really wanted to take an effort to get the support they needed. First things first is, as you can see with the previous years, they had a part-time supervisor. They weren't supervised all the time and weren't given much directive. But now, as they came over to building and safety, I've brought on Pete, who's so likely have revolutionized some of the areas of our department. And we've also kept in some of the same strong officers that we've had from the years that have given us the history that we need to build upon. And starting from there, then we started getting into the new facets of our staffing. We have a grant-funded position. We now have a weekend position, and we have volunteers. So I do want to take this time to introduce that team to you guys. This will be a great time for you guys to actually see who your code enforcement department is and your staff is.
One thing I do want to mention about the volunteers, so we have some of our volunteers you see are in gray shirts. They're actually volunteers that were brought on from the college. They're all interested in code enforcement, so they have actually taken academies, and they've gone through a process for me to kind of vet them out. And those are the folks that are, you'll see, they're giving out the little correction notices on the doors, but we also have our long-standing volunteers that actually are the eyes and ears in our community, and they're also here, and they've been part of our team for a long time. We like to recognize them as well.
All right, so if they could, they can all please stand. And I'll actually have them introduce themselves so you can hear their voice and just get you get a phone call from them. And know who they are, and we'll start with our tobacco grant officer.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jane Tate.
Our weekend officer.
Marco Valdez.
And a couple of our volunteers.
Diego Cuellar. Lou Lawson.
And some of our long-standing homegrown officers.
Julie Ashley?
Ralph Hernandez.
And then last but not least, our veteran volunteer.
Adrian Haggers.
So we enjoy the fact that now we have more staff. And as you guys know, it's more bodies are more responsive and more help for the community. These guys have all been great. These are all going through changes. As you can see, they're all wearing, matching shirts, as part of their traditional transition into the 2.0 era. Just to better identify them, get them out there in the field, people know who they are. When it comes to outreach, there's an identifiable mark that they are somebody that works for the city. It goes well for them to be able to express that without actually having to say who they are or only have their ID card to actually identify that. So this has helped, with their approach to the public. And again, they're panning the. But not only is there more staffing, the biggest and best thing of all is now code enforcement is available all days of the week. So this is something that has been an ask for the public. It's been an ask for you guys, the council, for other staff members, that we have a body that's here every day of the week to respond. Because what was happening typically before is we'd get an influx of calls up to Friday. There'd be a big gap, and then come Monday morning, we're inundated with a bunch of stuff that happened over the weekend. So through that, it's a whole. If you guys haven't been out there, it's a whole new world. After hours and during the weekend. So as we expand our code enforcement, hopefully there's a 3.0 that extends later in the evening and some other times. But for the most part, 2.0 is going to allow us to handle some of those weekend issues, just like we're having with the garage sales and the yard sales, construction over the weekend, the signs that are getting put up for the realtor things going on, and just a whole miscellaneous amount of things that are happening. So much so that it's nice when they show up on the weekend and they say, "What are you doing here? You guys don't work on the weekend." So we know that's going to be a presence for our community, just for them to be out there, just for people to know that they're a presence and we have code enforcement all days of the week. So if something happens and the council needs something or Publix needs something, we can address it right away. And they've done a great job. This group has been excellent, and we're here to support the city. We're here to make things better, and again, to assist with all the public safety and everything else that this entails. And we can open it to any questions or anything else.
Thank you, David. I just want to say thank you deeply, everyone, for all that you do. A very tough and thankless job, but so needed and so beneficial to our community, the work that you do. So thank you so much.
I say one thing real quick?
Please, Councilmember Bui.
David Dent, I just want to express the excitement to see all of the code enforcement staff to be here. This is the first time I see all of you guys together. I didn't realize that we have grown to this big. No wonder you put a lot of gray hair on your recently.
All right, thank you. You want to do group photo? Who just said that?
I think it's a
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be-
please.
that'll be great.
Can you guys come up right in here and we can do some group photos with the council? Okay.
Yes, I'm the official photographer.
Yeah.
You can go over a little bit, David, too. Oh, there's plenty of room. Just go stand on the other side of Dave.
Thank you, sorry.
That's scary.
Okay, one right here.
Oh, I see.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Good job, guys. That's it.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Scott, can you send me that? Can you send me that? We'll wait just a moment for anybody that wants to clear out. All right, that takes us to oral communications. I do have half a dozen cards or so, or more. I'd like to start with Pia Hirsch.
Good evening. My name is Pia Hirsch, and I am here today to ask for the Council's support of the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal strives to meet the demand of the United States through clean, renewable, and zero-emission energy sources. It is creating a better power grid to make electricity more affordable and invest in public transportation, which would benefit small businesses in Garden Grove. It is deindustrializing agriculture, thus making our families healthier and democratizing our energy and making our communities priority over profit. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities calculates that a federal job guarantee would mean 9.7 million jobs to the under or unemployed, with a family-sustaining wage, adequate family and medical leave, paid vacations, and retirement security. This would still cost $131 billion less than the Pentagon's annual budget. We must provide high-quality health care, affordable, safe, and adequate housing, economic security, and access to clean water, clean air, and healthy and affordable food. We are not in a normal world right now. The IPCC reports that, best case scenario, the effects of climate change will become irreversible after 2030. We are currently in a large-scale emergency, and we must work now to ensure that we can maintain our society and environment. I ask of you to please consider signing on to the Green New Deal and supporting our future generations. I hope that you will join us in fighting for a just future for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Choi.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Andy Choi. I'm a high schooler who has come here on behalf of the Sunrise Movement, a national student movement that fights against climate change and hopes to create millions of good jobs in the process. High schoolers across the country are asking their local governments for support, which we hope will push the federal government to act on the Green New Deal. I want to tell you why I, as a youth in our community, decided to call on the City Council to fight for the Green New Deal. We're here because we're at risk. We're frustrated due to the lack of action merely because of the consequences of climate change haven't created a strong enough sense of emergency among the people of this country. We live in a beautifully diverse community that works to overcome the most serious of adversities. However, I remember the tragic deaths of a homeless family a year ago in the city. Homeless people in our nation have spent too long waiting for a solution to this never-ending crisis. Not only will climate change propel homelessness and make it more dangerous for the homeless, it will threaten low-income communities and communities of color who contribute so much to our city the most. The Garden Grove City Council can offer justice for our future generations by supporting a federal Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is a comprehensive reform of the way we treat energy in our nation, moving away from the fossil fuels that have prompted climate change at the direction of fossil fuel corporations. By investing in clean energy jobs and infrastructure, Garden Grove will fight against the devastation of our community and will encourage the production of jobs to help propel our economy and the next generation of workers. California's clean energy sector supports 10 times as many jobs as this entire nation's coal industry. And our state's ambitious energy reforms means that the rest of the nation must catch up to our example. Without the Green New Deal, our economy will suffer a drop in the global gross domestic product of over 30% by 2100, which would be an economic collapse worse than the Great Depression. We must secure clean air and water, healthy food, access to nature, and through this sustainable environment and a united community. When the future residents of Garden Grove look back on our history, they will thank the City Council for doing what was right for the community and our environment. We must show the federal government that we care about our community and now in the future of our next generations. That's why I, along with the youth of our city, ask this council to take its courage, leadership, and moral authority to become the forefront of this fight for our future and sign the resolution for the endorsement of the Green New Deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Durfee.
Council, I want to thank you for all your hard work and staff. And I met the chief when I was meeting with Mr. O'Neill for an opportunity with my brother. He came to the door and I said, thank you for taking care of my family. I said, God bless you. He saluted me and I saluted him back. This is who I am. And I would also encourage you from all the cities around us, you just heard the youth. What's it going to cost this city to have the youth council? What's it going to cost you to have a voice that you can hear that are going to give them a next council member like Trout in Winter Park? Why don't you start thinking about the youth, what you just heard, and invoke a commission so you can become knowledgeable of the needs of the community? That would be smart. They could be next council person. Now that I've said that, I am the founder for the last 20 years. It's in the record of the Congress and the State and Assembly of Hertzberg bill I wrote, maybe 17, 18, on police training. Your now Congressman Luke Correa put me on the Angel Stadium, and Senator Dunn recognized me. Okay, I've shown you respect. I reached out to you, sir. I asked for help, and I gave you plenty of time. And this is something that our city I worked for always make sure that if you have a real issue, they're there to help you. And I reached out to you. Fair enough? I reached out to our city manager because I have an issue. Fair enough? Now what I have to say is I give them respect to our society, our community, our country, and what happened to me was uncalled for. And I'm offering you another chance to meet with me after this council and give me the due respect, because I don't want to make everything look dirty for the city. What happened to me was uncalled for. What happened is I had spoke to a department that agreed with me that this concept to help our SEL of our youth who are committing suicide is second highest in our country, oversaturating toxic social media, hurtful and helpful by PhDs in the UK, medically down to 2 hours. Obviously, there's kids with disabilities, and my organization is known as Parents' Right for Developmentally Disabled Children. I've never used it in a sense in an improper way. I've always been able to use it for bicycle issues at the mayor group because it helps those with ADHD to become more focused. And so what I'm saying is that I have a place in law enforcement that I asked if they want me to give their information. Sure, anytime. But what I had was Aren't we doing our good job? Don't call us and tell us what to do and put him on the hold for 15 minutes. Now, I've never, ever disrespected an officer in this PD. I told him, thank you. God bless you. But I don't deserve for what I've done for this country to be treated like this. And your council has to fix it because this is not community service policing. Fair enough? And I think that that's something I've given to our country and recognize and continue to help Congress and the White House and our state legislators and the things they do, they thank me for it. I also help the Business Council. I'm very active. I don't tell everything what I do, but I do for the benefit of mankind and people who need help. And I don't appreciate being treated like this. Disrespectful. So I'm asking the mayor to fix it. I'm asking when I need to call up and ask to quietly to talk to somebody about something of this nature and explain it. I don't get help. It's on this council, not on me. Fair enough? So I would like to encourage you to take the opportunity to form your dog pound with the connection with the school on Proposition 6.3 and 4.7 to fund a program in the high schools so they can get their education through working with service dogs, train and be certified, and able to be employable at the end. Right now, they're unemployable. So you do have a facility at your quest. Would it be great if our seniors had in a senior center a service-trained dog that they can love and be appreciative? I think that these things could be done at no cost to the city and no cost to the school. I think you guys have a win situation. We should have an awareness because second highest of suicide is from your junior high to high school. I think we should have an emotional awareness PAW week. I think your PD would appreciate that because you're out there trying to solve school liaison problems. And wouldn't it be great if the kids would find emotional stability by having someone next to them to be emotionally supportive? It's all research from the Greater Good magazine. It's also UK Chief Medical Officer. I see we have enough evidence to move forward and do something positive in our community that won't cost you a dime. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas Dibbs.
Mayor Jones, members of the City Council, my name is Nicholas Dibbs. I'm an honors graduate from Pacifica High School. I then went on to become a science teacher at Cal State Long Beach, a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry. Before I get to my planned remarks, I want to thank the two high students behind me who spoke a moment ago in support of the Sunrise Movement and the need for a Green New Deal. That's something that is long overdue. And as a high school student, I received an award for a science project on solar water heating. And we're about 30 years behind the 8 ball. We need to catch up. So thank you both for speaking earlier on that topic. Now I want to address the issue of the Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee. This is for the council members. I've sent you an email. I was ill 2 weeks ago at your council meeting, but I watched it on TV. And I want to thank Councilman Bowie for asking the council to table it till tonight. And I've sent you each this email for an important reason, because one of the incentives for the Garden Grove voters, of which I'm one, I've been a longtime resident of Garden Grove, we voted for the sales tax, 1 cent sales tax increase. And one of the incentives for the voters to pass that measure was the establishment of a Citizens Oversight Committee to ensure that the increase of the 1 cent sales tax increase, that those increase in funds will be used as intended. Now, as a teacher, I remember when the lottery passed and this new money came in to supposedly fund education from the lottery funds, but then the Sacramento bureaucrats and elected officials took the money out the back end of the budget. So new money came in, but they decreased the funding otherwise. And of course, we need a Citizens Oversight Committee to make sure that doesn't happen here. So I put together, the staff at the last council meeting, had some recommendations to you, but I want to add to that and say that there's some additional things I'd like you to please consider. Number one, the application for the committee members or the applicants to serve on the committee, the application itself should include the following 4 questions. A, why do you want to serve on the Oversight Committee, and why do you feel you are well suited to be appointed to serve to carry out the duties and responsibilities of this new committee? B, if selected to serve, how and what would you do to make sure the purpose of the Oversight Committee is successfully accomplished? C, in keeping with the city's nepotism policy, do you have any relatives currently employed by the city of Garden Grove? D, do you and/or does the company you work for, if currently employed, do any business with the city as a vendor or contractor? Item number 2, after the mayor and city council members review all applications and before appointments are made to the Citizens Oversight Committee, it is recommended that the mayor and city council members interview potential applicants at a special meeting of the city council. Now, we have a good example of that when my good friend, Director Philip Anthony, who served for many years on the Orange County Water District Board, passed away, and the Water District Board was tasked with appointing someone. They took applications, then they took the time in open session, recorded, to interview the people, ask them questions and get some responses. You give each applicant a few minutes to say why they want to serve, and then give an opportunity, not just in an application, but in a dialogue, so that the directors or council members can find out more about these people before they're appointed. So I want to, and number 3, consideration should be made to appoint applicants of integrity who have no actual or possibly perceived conflicts of interest, and to consider those applicants who have a proven track record of community service and who are willing to ask pertinent questions as Oversight Committee members and not be a rubber stamper. So I'm just throwing that out there as suggestions for you to consider, but I think I ask that each of you please review my email and those items that I've read off and consider those. Now, I'm not going to be shy. I am going to say I'm going to be one of those applicants because as most of you know, I am not a rubber stamper. I come to council meetings and bring up ideas and suggestions to try to help make our city and communities better. That's enough said maybe on that issue, but we need to make sure that we have people on this Oversight Committee to ensure. Now, let me just say this. Ensuring that 1% sales tax increase, that the new money coming in is not going to be decreased on the back end. So thank you for listening. I see I'm out of time. So thank you for listening, and my phone number and contact information is there if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Bram.
Good evening, Mayor Jones, council members, our city manager, and staff. My name is Alan Bram. I've been a resident of Garden Grove for over 25 years. I want to thank you for allowing these public comments in a time where some cities are finding these opportunities for public input a burden. I would hope that we continue and encourage this input from residents in our city and neighboring areas. Before I start my brief statement on the topic I chose for today, I also would like to thank the students for bringing awareness to the council and support the Green New Deal. The more support we can get today, implementing its key points will help us in the next administration to move it forward. Today I would like to speak on behalf of what I believe is the underserved community regarding the Willowick open space. I don't believe forming small task force to expedite through decisions that lead towards grand schemes, possibly benefiting developers with big shiny stadiums and so-called mixed-use business upscale housing without public input, environmental and fiscal studies. We should be providing what's sorely lacking in our cities and neighboring cities. It's open space, large parks with bike trails, possible overnight camping, community gardens, affordable housing, no barrier, low barrier shelters for the homeless, especially in this time with the number of deaths in Orange County skyrocketing in the past couple of months. Last thing we need is another rainbow-colored armadillo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan. Claudia Ward.
Good evening. Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Claudia Ward, and I'm a 60-year resident of Garden Grove. And I come to you tonight because of a situation that occurred in my neighborhood to myself and my husband, and I need guidance from you as what do I do. In the early morning of February 15th, a white Ford Explorer drove down the street, backed up to our cargo trailer, cut the lock with bolt cutters, hooked up and exited our neighborhood with our trailer at 12:08 a.m. We placed a call to the Garden Grove PD around 5:05 a.m. when we noticed that the trailer had been taken. Officer Julian responded to the call, took a report, and also I signed a statement stating that I wanted this thief prosecuted if located. My niece posted the stolen trailer information on an app called the Neighbor app. The next day, Saturday the 16th, the Neighbor app alerted my niece's cell phone, letting her know that they had found our trailer on Yana Street in Stanton, just at the cross streets of Cerritos and Dale, which is 1.5 miles from our home. We are at Dale and Orangewood. Just 1.5 miles from our home, when we arrived, my niece was already there, and so was the trailer. We called Stanton Sheriff's Department as Officer Julian had told us to do. He had also instructed us not to touch the trailer, to not do anything to it, to wait till the law enforcement arrived from the city that we found it in. When sheriffs arrived, neighbors began to come out of their homes and told us that the trailer was dropped there at 5:30 a.m. Saturday morning, the 16th. A very large noise awoken them. As they came out of the house, they also saw a Ford Explorer driving away from the trailer exiting their community. They saw the license plate had been removed from the trailer and the locks had been removed, so they opened the trailer to try to ID who it might belong to, and the trailer was found empty. The trailer, a 12 by 18-foot cargo trailer, was full at the time it was taken. I'm an event planner and a crafter. I estimate over $10,000 of items, of handmade things and things that I had collected from my brides over the last several years. These items were really only of true value to my clients and to myself, and I have no idea why they were not returned with the trailer. The sheriff contacted Garden Grove PD at the time we found the trailer, and Garden Grove PD's requested the sheriff have the trailer towed. It was towed by Brea Towing Company. Orange County Sheriff's Department contacted their crime lab, and at 9:10 p.m. Saturday the 16th, the trailer was processed. On February 19th, I called Garden Grove PD to ask to speak with the detective who had been assigned to our case. And this is when I met Detective Herrera. I explained to him that the trailer had been towed by Stanton Sheriff's Department and was waiting to be processed. I also told him I had dropped off a flash drive on Saturday, February 17th. This flash drive contains screenshots and video of a white Ford Explorer driving into our neighborhood at 11:15 on February 14th, then driving out with our trailer at 12:08 February 15th. Our neighbors have some really good surveillance cameras and shared them with me. Detective Herrera explained that he would have a civilian report writer contact me and further the report and make arrangements to process the trailer at the tow yard. On Friday, February 22nd, 20 days later, Detective Herrera called around 8:30 a.m. and apologized for no one contacting me for the past 2 days, that the person he was sending had been in training for 2 days, but that they would be in contact with me shortly that day. And as they were, a woman contacted me introducing herself to me as being with the Garden Grove PD and stated that she was on her way heading to the trailer to process it. About 2 hours later, she called me back saying, well, the trailer's already been processed. I don't know who did that. So the trailer's ready to be released if you want to come get it. It was late Friday afternoon. She gave me the phone number and told me they were closed Saturday and Sunday. On Monday, February 25th, I began calling the tow yard to see when I could pick up my trailer and was not able to reach them until early this morning. At 8:50 this morning, she explained to me which documents I needed to show them to retrieve the trailer and that a $780 fee came with that in order to release the trailer. So now I'm feeling victimized once again by this whole system, and I feel very upset. I went to Garden Grove PD today and tried to talk with someone. Detective Herrera happened to be there. He came down and talked to me and said, my best approach is to fill out this claim form and drop it off at the city clerk's office to City Hall and see if they might be able to help me with something. Filling out this form does not solve the immediate problem. Daily, I am incurring costs on this trailer. Sergeant Smith, I contacted at the Orange County Sheriff's Department and asked him, how did the trailer get processed? Who did this? He explained to me that the Sheriff's Department was holding the trailer on Garden Grove's behalf and at their request, and that I should have been notified by Garden Grove PD that the trailer was ready to be released as soon as it was processed. I have done everything Garden Grove PD has asked me to do. I've been a good citizen, and it's been a very difficult time for me. I have a wedding in 4 days, and her things were in that trailer. I've been struggling to replace them. So what is the rule? Why is it our financial responsibility to pay for property that was stolen with us, that was taken into custody by the City of Garden Grove's Police Department to process for prosecution? So I was notified Friday the 22nd that the trailer was cleared to be picked up, when in fact the trailer had been cleared 48 hours after it had been found. There is clearly a miscommunication between departments, as with my husband and I, yet we are left to be financial burden as victims. I ask you, what do we do? We're incurring these costs for 10 days now today's 11, and tomorrow is 12, and 13, 14. What do we do? I don't know what to do. Is this form that I'm filling out and attaching this very lengthy police report to, because I listed all the items that were worth $10,000 to me, to a police officer that sat and entered this all in? I've done everything. I found the trailer, I've produced pictures, I've given him flash drives, there was fingerprints that were taken from it. I don't know what to do. I was so frustrated today. I was very, very frustrated. What happens with these forms as citizens when we fill them out and leave them at the clerk's office? Do they sit there and wait until they get a chance to go through them? Because I'm on a time clock here. So I just need help, please. I don't know what to do. I really don't.
Thank you. Can we, I don't know who the appropriate person would be, but can we ask somebody to maybe give her some guidance?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll have staff follow up with Ms. Ward first thing in the morning.
Thank you. Maureen Blackman. You were late, so you go last.
We call it a job.
Tardy.
We call it a job. I feel really bad. I've done weddings, so I don't even know what she's doing with having somebody have a wedding in 4 days, and she's got to be responsible for making somebody's dreams come true. I feel really bad for her. Bronchitis has gotten us all, so please bear with me. If you've been on social media lately, you've probably seen a lot of reportings of coyotes in the neighborhood. I've been told it's mating season, but when you go back over, it's mating, breeding, remating, and burrowing in seasons. But anyway, Garden Grove Neighborhood Association decided it was time to host another of what we call a Meet on Main. No, it's not on Main Street, but it's our town hall. This one is called the Coyote Awareness Edition. We reached out to professionals, starting with our very own Mark Ladney with the Garden Grove Animal Care, who is a wealth of information and a wonderful individual. I enjoy him very much. I think he does a fabulous job, along with, of course, Bill Murray. After we settled him in, we secured an environmental wildlife scientist, Amelia Vieira from California Fish and Game. She suggested 2 other individuals, both Dave Dodge, and who is a conflict management. We could use him a lot. And it's very sophisticated. There's duct tape under there. And Larry Stevens, a game warden. And I told Bill I wanted to also have some other, I think he has a few other tricks up his sleeve. But anyway, the meeting is going to be this Thursday, February 28th. It will be at the Lions Club. They've been very gracious to allow us to host it there. If you've never been to the Lions Club, give yourself a little time, because you have to go behind the rusty skeleton and weave your way through, and you think you're lost, and suddenly you're found. The address is at 9860 Larson Avenue, and that's in Garden Grove, and it's 92844. The meeting will be held from 6 o'clock till 8. Do yourself a favor, like I said, if you've never been there, start out early, because you'll get lost. That's a guaranteed. Our goal is to talk strategies for deterring coyotes, ways to increase negative encounters, and how to protect yourself and your pets. Anybody who's had an encounter, we encourage you to come so we can hear some gory stories too. Not to make light of it, but fear is always fun. Anyway, thank you.
All right. Thursday, the 28th, Coyotes at Lions. No cougars allowed. And that concludes oral communications. We'll recess to, you guys want to keep going? Anybody need to take a break or keep going? We'll power through. What did we just go to? To successor agencies. So Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Member Brigham.
Here.
Member O'Neill.
Here.
Member T-Wen.
Here.
Member Klopfenstein. Member K-Wen.
Here.
Vice Chair Bowie.
Here.
And Chair Jones.
Here. We already did oral communications simultaneously with City Council. We'll move on to consent items 2A and 2B.
Second.
Call to vote.
It's being stubborn. Okay. Motion received, 7 yes votes. And can I ask who made the motion and who seconded?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any matters from agency members? Seeing none, we will adjourn to sanitary district.
All right. All right, we'll go to sanitary district. We had oral communications simultaneously. We have consent items. Receive and file the minutes from the last meeting.
Move approval.
Do you mind if I take roll first?
Oh, that would help.
We're moving right along.
I know, right? Member Bowie?
Here.
Member Jones?
Here.
Member Klopfenstein?
Here.
Member Kim Wen?
Here.
Member Tu-Ha Wen?
Here.
Vice President Brigham?
Here.
And President O'Neill.
Here, now that we're all here. Okay. So now we'll go back to, we already heard oral communications, consent items. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, moved.
Motion. Second.
Okay. Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, we'll go to item 3. We have items for consideration, an award contract to Lee and Rowe Incorporated, and we'll probably have a staff report.
Yes, we do. This item is an award of contract to Lee and Rowe, Inc. for professional engineering and construction management services of a sewer system rehabilitation plan Phase 1, Sewer Main Replacement Project 1, and Sewer Main Lining Projects 1 and 2. And Mr. Murray is here to give the report.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy. Chairman and members of the board. Tonight, we're here to recommend award a contract to Lee and Rowe for professional engineering services and project management for the construction of the sewer system rehabilitation plan Phase 1. This is a sewer main replacement project and sewer main line projects 1 and 2. As you know, we've had sewer main issues throughout the city, and we have, in order to address that, have incorporated a sewer master plan and a capacity assurance plan. These projects will work towards improving our capacity on various projects and also look towards repairing some of the deficiencies that we currently have. Staff went out and received proposals from 3 firms to go ahead and, to get this work done. This work, let's see, actually, the proposals were rated, and Lee and Rowe was found to be the most highest rated firm. Staff negotiated a price for that work. It's just over $700,000, and there is no impact to the general fund. And staff is recommending go ahead and award this particular contract to Lee and Rowe. That concludes staff's report. I'm available should you have any questions.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
All right, a motion, second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Any matters on sanitary district? Seeing none, we'll move to adjourn until the next meeting, Tuesday, March 26th. And back to City Council.
All righty, we shall reconvene City Council. That takes us on to consent items. It's recommended that items 3A through 3G be acted on simultaneously unless any member would like to pull an item. Any polls? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Did mine go through? Yes? Yes, it did. Okay. I thought I may hit the wrong button, but that looks good.
Okay.
It's a rough night.
Okay, 4A is commission committee matters. We do have listed, I asked the clerk to agendize this, but I'd actually like to just continue it to the next meeting if that's okay. Do we need a motion to do that, or can we just?
No.
No, you can just continue it.
Okay, thank you. 5, items for consideration, we have several. 5A.
Item 5A is approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Justice for grant funding to facilitate enforcement of Proposition 56 and appropriation of funds awarded for operational tasks in fiscal year 2018-19. And Ms. Chang is here to give the report.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. In October 2018, the city's Code Enforcement Unit, under the Building and Safety Division, applied for a Department of Justice grant program with funds authorized under the California Healthcare Research and Prevention Tobacco Tax Act, which is Proposition 56. The grant program will distribute $30 million to local agencies in California to support various tobacco-related programs. The awarded funds will focus on enforcement related to illegal sales and marketing of tobacco products to minors and youth. The program will be administered by the Code Enforcement Unit and a full-time city employee or contracted code officer, which will be assigned to cities' commercial areas to seek compliance through standard method. The total amount awarded to the city is $350,085, of which grant funds will be distributed over a 3-year period. The expected yearly costs include salary of a full-time or contractual code officer, operating expenses, enforcement supplies, and administrative costs. The grant does not require a match from the city, and there is no impact to the general fund. Therefore, staff recommends that City Council approve the MOU with the Department of Justice for grant funds in the amount of $350,085, authorize participation of the local tobacco enforcement program, approve appropriation of funds in the amount of $72,535 for fiscal year 18-19, and authorize the city manager to execute the MOU on behalf of the city. That concludes staff's report, and staff's available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Kim?
I would like to motion to approve, but also just want to make a few comments. I know for the first year while in office, I really pounded in the fact that we really need to take advantage of these grant programs and get funding, especially the ones that don't require city matched funding. So I just want to give accolades to the Code Enforcement Department for taking the time to to apply for grants, it does take a very long time, especially if they're asking for like project planning as to what you're going to do with that money and if they have specific requirements. So just kudos to you guys for putting in the work to get that and to actually receiving it. I look forward to hearing hopefully an annual update as to how you use that money and how it's been benefiting the city. And with that, I'd like to motion to approve.
Thank you. Second for discussion, but Stephanie K.
It's more of just a comment. In listening to the presentation, there was discussion about this particular person that would go out and deal with these tobacco-related issues, would also be looking at commercial property, blight, and so forth. And I think I just want to encourage that process. I think we see a lot of our strip malls in different areas throughout the city, businesses that definitely need to step up their game in terms of their storefronts and so forth. So I look forward to seeing how that's incorporated into this and what that looks like going forward. Thank you.
Motion and second. Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. 5B.
5B is award a contract to Vasilj Inc. for construction of project number 7407 La Bonita Street storm drain improvements. And Mr. Murray is here to give the report.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, City Council is being asked to award a contract to Vasilj for the construction of a storm drain on La Bonita Street from Westminster Avenue to Annabelle Street. This storm drain will consist of about 1,100 linear feet of double reinforced concrete pipe. The pipes will be 36 inches in diameter, and of course, will have required catch basins as well. This work will be done starting at Westminster and proceed up La Bonita to the intersection of Annabelle Street. The work was identified in our master drainage plan and has been elevated to a high priority due to the flooding of a couple garages along La Bonita Street. All work is to be completed at a cost of almost $1.1 million. Staff received and opened 8 bids on February 6th of this year and determined that All Cities Engineering was the lowest responsible bidder. Unfortunately, All Cities Engineering withdrew their bid, citing errors, which is allowed per the Public Contract Code. Staff then found Vasilj Incorporated to be the second responsible bidder. Should council decide to award the contract tonight, the contractor can begin work in April and should be complete before the start of the school year. This project was included in this year's capital improvement plan and will be paid for using CDBG funds, drainage funds, and funds obtained from an SCE grant award from the installation of the LED lights. You may remember that from our last council meeting. And in fact, if you'd oblige me, I'd like to give credit to Anna Neal of our staff for actually following through and doing that work on the SCE grant. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available should you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions, more so again comments. Good job on the grant. And I love to see District 6 get some improvement, so thank you for that. And I motion to approve this.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thanks, Bill. 5C.
Item 5C is adoption of a resolution establishing the composition of the Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee, setting purpose, scope of responsibility, composition, structure, and other related matters. And this is continued from the February 12th, 2019 meeting. And Ms. Stipe is here to give the report.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy. Good evening, Mayor and council members. As Ms. Pomeroy mentioned, this item is being brought back following up on the February 12th meeting. The City Council directed the item to be tabled to allow council members additional time to review the proposed Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee composition, responsibilities, and structure, and provide feedback to staff regarding suggested revisions council members may have. The comments we received are provided before you as a handout for your consideration, so you should have them at your desk on yellow. It's recommended that the City Council consider the comments that have been provided and adopt a resolution defining the composition of the Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee, its purpose, terms of office, scope of responsibilities, and other related matters. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Colleagues?
Well, I was the one with the most heartburn, so I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
I looked at George and said, colleagues.
I know what you meant. Yeah, again, there's a lot of things in here that I think, the age thing, do we really need someone that shall be over 62 years old? I mean, that there's no nexus to that in Measure O. Should we also have somebody who's under 28? I mean, it's the same craziness, there's really no nexus there. The shalls and the musts, as opposed to shoulds, makes it very difficult for future councils to try to staff this committee. So I think my comments were pretty much all put in here, but I'll go over them real quick. Replace the word must with should. Reading the oversight committee shall consist of 7 members. At least one member should represent the business community as an owner of a local business. Remove the provision for the 62-year-old member. Remove at least 2 members must have a background in finance and accounting, and replace with all members should have a background in finance and accounting. Remove, and the remaining 3 members will be members of the community at large, and replace with all members shall either reside or own a business within the city of Garden Grove. And then the 2 meetings annually, I think that's, even if there's not a lot for the commission to do initially, because, while it's getting off the ground, there's probably not going to be a lot for them to do. But just for the sake of having public comments, it should be done at least quarterly, at least initially, and then scaled back, if needed, if they feel appropriate. But, this was something that we kind of, or that was very touted, this committee. And I think it should be, at least quarterly available to the public to provide feedback. So anyway, I put all my, I emailed my comments and, for your perusal, so to speak.
Thank you. Stephanie, go ahead.
Just really quickly to go down the list, I'm fine with the idea of taking out a must and replacing it with a should. I think that's fine. I understand that. The 62 or older, I get what you're saying, but there's also a part of me that thinks that there is a certain amount of sage wisdom that comes with being older, and there's some life experience to that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to have somebody maybe 60 plus on that on the committee. I think the 2 though that I'm not sure about, the last one, remove. And all the remaining 3 members will be members of the community at large, replaced with all members shall either reside. My only concern with that is by using all, we have business leaders, stakeholders in the community that don't live in the city, but are in the city daily, working in the city, very involved in the city. So I want to be careful not to exclude that group. And then as far as the 2 meetings annually versus 4, maybe it could be something where it's mandatory 2 meetings, but maybe another 2 meetings could be at the discretion of the committee or of staff. So we have a little bit of wiggle room that they don't have to meet quarterly, but if they feel they need it for some reason, more information, gathering, et cetera, then that could be put in at that time. That's all I have.
Please go ahead.
Just to go over that, I think it is very important that we do not exclude people under the age of 62. Right? So, because we are going to remove the provision for an age of 62 or older member, right?
Well, that's one of the things I've requested.
Yeah,
Right.
He's requesting to remove that.
But you could still put a
That one.
90-year-old in there without that being there.
No, I'm saying is that I agree with you in removing it. I just want to make sure that because I misheard what Council Member Klopfenstein mentioned earlier about the 62 group age.
I just mean that it might be good to have somebody that age or older, but I don't think it means that we're excluding any. If you're 18 and older, you can be on the committee.
Okay, good, right. And I think it is even though there is not a lot of work for the committee to meet quarterly, and semi-annual would be probably sufficient. But I think in terms of establishing trust for our residents, it is very important that we meet quarterly. Even if we just meet and there's not much going on, but the residents know that there will be a meeting every quarter, that if they have any issue or concern, they can come and address it. I heard many residents frustrated that sometimes they want to attend the traffic commission or some other commission, but it took a long time for them because they have an issue that they want to discuss. But they have to wait until, sometimes they have to wait 5 months, 6 months in order to meet and bring up an issue. So I think it will be really great if we just keep it quarterly. And if they don't have anything to do, they just meet and then adjourn the meetings.
I have a couple comments. So first one, for staff more so, it would have been really good to have this language already in the proposed ordinance so that we can see it in its entirety to review. Because there's a couple things that we're taking out and then still leaving in, so it's kind of hard to see how that language is going to change. The notes that we have here are not very professionally written. It's just verbatim what Councilmember Reddigham said, so it's kind of hard to see how that's going to change the ordinance entirety. And now you're going to present us with one with that included. We'll have to review it again and then tell you if we don't like it. So it's prolonging the process of getting this approved, in my opinion. So that's just one comment for future when we have revisions to ordinances and things like that, that we should have a draft for the meeting to review in its entirety. So that being comment number one. For comment number two, the meeting schedule, it's my understanding that the meeting of this committee is tied to our budget, so the mid and the annual. That's the purpose of that committee to me, is to review those two things. So having them meet quarterly, to me, kind of doesn't line up with the budget process. What exactly would be the purpose of the meeting on a quarterly basis? I'm all for meeting more times, for transparency purposes, but again, with the objective of what this committee is supposed to do, I'm a little lost there. If residents have issues and they have things they want to, either complain or give feedback to, they're always welcome to attend our meetings and speak during oral communication. So I don't know that we need to impose additional meetings to committee members. You have to look at what the purpose of this committee is meant to do, right? It specifically says review year-end audited financial information, review the mid-year financial report, annual general funds. Everything is on a by basis, right? So.
You are right, but I think the purpose of the Oversight Committee is not just to review the financial, but to, that's the majority of it. But in order to review it, it also, as an oversight, it also needs to advise the City Council in terms of what policy, what are the criteria. There's a lot of things. So I think it at least for the first years, I think it should be quarterly. And then if they do not need to, just like Planning Commission or other commission, if there's no need to meet, then they will just cancel the meeting. I think it is important to have the commitment from committee members that they this is a serious committee and that they should be prepared to meet quarterly. And if there's no need to meet, then we will cancel the meeting.
I would like then to get staff clarity on the purpose of the committee, because I don't think they're going to be guiding us on policy. They're going to be advising us based on how the finances are being used. So I just want clarification on that.
That's correct. The purpose of the Oversight Committee is to review the city's annual general fund budget, mid-year budget, and year-end audited financial information in regards to the receipt and expenditure of the 1 cent sales tax. The review's going to be based on the city's Measure O ordinance and input received during the Community Priorities Survey. So they're specifically going to be looking, it's an advisory committee, and they're specifically going to be looking to see that all of those revenues have been spent appropriately.
So it's a budget committee, but specific to Measure O.
When I say advice on policy, I do not mean that they will make policy decision. But they need to also think about, as an oversight committee, what is it that they are looking at? what is it that what criteria and how do they examine the the financial statement. For example, I have been serving on the financial audit committee with our mayor. We are not just looking at the financial number. We need to look into a lot of different areas as opposed to just financial number alone. And the mayor and I and the city manager is already pondering about, looking up at some other avenue where we work with the CPA firm, ahead of the audit committee, so that we can gain more insight into what is being audited and why. Because we are not going to, the CPA firm is not going to, audit every single function and department. They pick certain area that they think would be most important for this year, and then the following year they may look at some other financial area. So I think the oversight committee should not be just look at the number and then either stamp or not approval or raise question. They need to be working more closely with staff instead of just waiting into the last day when they present the number, and here it is, this number go there, this number go there, and put a rubber stamp on it.
John O'Neill.
I just want to throw in my 2 cents here. So I think there's a way that we could easily solve this with the language that's written in the resolution. If we changed 3 of the musts to should, you should represent a business community owner, or you should be an active senior, or you should have a background in finance and accounting. It gives us a lot of leeway, and obviously we'd probably have someone in each one of those areas in there. But we take out the must. The must I would leave for the 18 years old, obviously. And then as far as the meetings, I would rather start with 2 and have the option of adding 2 special meetings. I'd rather add meetings than take away. You have a lot of high-end professional people that have full-time jobs, and we have city staff. And if we just have people show up for a meeting and there's nothing to do, I mean, I guess it could be canceled. And I'm open to it. I understand what you're saying quarterly, because a lot of our other commissions, or the smaller commissions, meet quarterly. And I understand where you're coming from. But I would lean more towards start out with 2 meetings. If by the end of this first year, if we need more, we'll go to quarterly, or if we need special meetings, we could add them. And then I think adding the shoulds instead of the musts could really save a lot of this language without adding maybe a lot of different language in there, like Councilmember Nguyen was saying. Instead of changing all the language, if we just change three musts to should, and come together on the meeting dates, I think we're done. We could get this done.
Well, again, maybe we could add that it's mandatory 2 meetings, but then there's the option of
Expanding it if needed, or
the other 2 meetings, or so forth. Put that in the language so that there's flexibility. If it's needed, great. If it's not,
How about we just say, that meetings supposed to be 2 to 4 meetings. So
Yeah. There you go.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 meetings.
Yeah.
Because I think we all know that 2 of them will be around budgetary times, and then there's going to be an instance where there's another issue that comes up with a large budget item that maybe.
So instead of saying, biannual or quarterly, we just say 2 to 4, and then let the committee decide, how often they should meet.
I think to Kim's point, Councilmember Nguyen's point, I think it's important that we think about staff's time as well. And as she mentioned, they're working on a budget. That's a very stressful and busy time, and we have to be sensitive to all that's going on internally, as well as these meetings. Not to make light of this, but that's very important to the bigger picture as well.
And how about just calling it a minimum of 2 meetings?
Yeah, that's what minimum of 2 meetings or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work.
Fine.
I like that.
It works, yeah.
Okay.
As far as, getting back to Councilmembers Kloffenstein's theory about the people driving through the community, I'm adamantly against that. Measure O affects only business owners and residents of this city, not people who drive through on their way to work. And only the people who own businesses and residents are paying this tax. So I have a lot of grief about allowing somebody who just drives through and spends a lot of time in the community on the commission.
Yeah. I didn't pursue that. But what about a pastor of a church, or what about a director of a nonprofit, or what about?
Well, if they've got an interest in Garden Grove.
That's all I meant.
They still have to be registered to vote in the city. So-
Well, I just felt that
I don't think so.
certain people that are
necessarily.
working.
Well, that's what
Not
the
necessarily.
thing says.
On our
What
harbor
the number
corridor,
here says that you shall be a registered voter in the
business
city of
community.
Garden
Hold on,
Grove.
Stephanie.
Business representative.
Hold on, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
If you
Or
work in a
Stephanie.
capacity in one of our hotels on the corridor, and you're deeply involved in the community, or you work and own a business, you're paying taxes, you're invested in the community, I would hate to exclude those people from potentially being a part of this if they showed interest in it. It would affect them, especially if they're business owners. And maybe that would be some language that we could put that in there, to not say that if you're if you're a random person, and no, but I do think
Keep
that
in mind,
they're.
we're going to use our discretion to appoint these people. So at some point, why would we all agree to appoint somebody that just passes through and doesn't really have any stake in the community?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
This is a big deal, and this is.
And I'm not concrete.
I was hearing you
This might
wrong,
be-
man, because
okay,
I.
yeah, no, that's not what I meant. No.
My wife
And I-
was just by-
Just to clarify also, it doesn't say registered to vote in Garden Grove. It's 18 and older, reside or have a business in Garden Grove, and be a registered voter, not registered voter in Garden Grove.
Yeah.
And a business representative. So you could be the owner of the business, but there could be a CFO or somebody that is very prominent that they might want to sit on the board. Not that I'm saying that there would be, but I'm, right?
Can I summarize and see if I can take us to a?
I think we can do.
I think George's intention here was to kind of broaden some of the way of looking at these things, so we weren't in such a tight box of it must be this, it must be that, it has to be that. So to me, I think if you just broaden the language to shoulds and may for the first one and the age thing, too, and then I think just basically leave the other three alone, but add the context of minimum 2 meetings annually.
So just to clarify, on the third one where I said at least 2 members, or I'm sorry, all members should have a background in finance. We're okay with that, right?
Well, I'm sorry. I would prefer to just, I don't know, your guys' call. I would prefer to leave that alone. I'm okay, I guess I'm okay with it either way. Just, I think, let me speak for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Just for context. So this is a very important and a very prestigious committee that we're forming. We've been promising throughout the last year, as this measure has been coming forward, that we would develop this oversight committee that would be in an advisory capacity. So we are the decision makers. We're the fiduciaries that are actually going to make the decisions. We're the ones who need to absorb all the public input as well. We're assembling an advisory committee to work with staff, talk about the details, contemplate, kind of get analytical on it. I think it would be prudent to have at least a couple that have true finance backgrounds, that if we're talking about budget and how to allocate $19 million worth of fresh new money and to do that with prudence, then I kind of like the thought of having 2. If we put should, I guess it's okay because we're still going
to, though, is my point. Like right now, we all have people in mind who are really good, but 10 years from now, when we have a different council here and you can't, now you're pigeonholed. You got to find somebody with accounting. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking into the future.
Let me also comment on that. I think, as I said, I think this is a very important and very prestigious committee, and I think it will be relevant probably in the first year, first and foremost. And thereafter, we'll fall into kind of a groove of how these things, I think it's, right now, we're going from don't have it to having it, and what do we do with this new windfall of revenue coming to see how do we properly allocate that as good trustees of the taxpayers' money, right?
True.
So I think it's the setup. I think it's the first pass. I think it's this first year is going to be most relevant. And my guess is after this, it'll be kind of muted. Like I don't think it'll be as big of a deal, but it's a really big deal right now, just immediately upon the passage of Measure O. And my guess is we don't really have to worry too much about 10 years out. That's kind of my gut feel of how this.
But this commission will still
oversight
be in existence,
committee-
right? The Measure O goes in perpetuity.
Correct.
So.
Correct. It'll still be there as a watchdog and as an advisory capacity. I think once the first allocation of how that money gets dispersed out, and maybe the second pass would be relevant too, because it's like, well, look how we did it last year. How did we do it better this year? But once you kind of fall into a groove, I think staff will start kind of budgeting these items at percentages accordingly.
With the mayor, because I think if we have no one with financial or accounting background, not even a degree, but a background, then I don't know if we can. The public will be able to trust the advice of that committee. So I think it's important to, having at least 2 members, more if we can.
And I guess if that comes up in the future, council can vote to change it if they need to.
Yeah.
So,
So what did we just do?
Well,
So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add a
Yeah.
comment. So what I heard, 3 must to should, I don't know, but maybe for perfect clarity here.
Yep.
With the report's only like 3 or 4 pages, maybe we could say on the first page, what paragraph did we want to change? There's 3 places, and then I heard minimum of 2 meetings, change that, and that was about all I heard. So if you could tell me where the 3
Well, the only one-
must should be changed.
On number 2, where it said to add hear public testimony and comments regarding Measure O, they're going to do that anyway. So that was just something so I just wanted to make that clear.
Scott, I think I have, noted the changes, so if you'd like, I could read them back to you. And then if you're in agreement, we can do that. So I am fine with adding the item here, public testimony, under Section 2, as you recommended. It would happen anyway, but it wouldn't hurt to have that listed. If everybody's okay with that, we can put that as 2.5. And then the majority of the changes are under item number 3 on page 186 of the policy, committee composition. So it will read, the Oversight Committee shall consist of 7 members. At least 1 member should represent the business community as an owner or representative of a local business. At least 1 member should be an active senior resident age 62 or older. At least 2 members should have background in finance and accounting. And the remaining 3 members may be members of the community at large. Does that sound correct?
I like it.
I'm good with that. You good with that?
Okay.
I am.
So that was number 3. And then the next change is on page 188, section 9. And that's the community meeting schedule. And I'm not sure I have this. I believe we're going to say, let's see. I'll just read it, and then we'll see. The city's budget development occurs from January through August. The audited financial statement is typically complete by the end of January, and the mid-year financial report is normally complete in March. Consequently, the committee will be active from January through August each year, with a minimum of 2 meetings anticipated annually. The exact meeting schedule, and then so forth. Does that?
Yeah, and I'm good with that, with the recommendation to city staff that, they consider holding quarterly meetings at least during the first year for public testimony.
Or we could add a sentence after that that says the committee will have the ability to meet up to 4 times annually as needed.
Yeah. You want to do
Yeah.
that? Yeah, I'm good with that. I think that would.
Okay. So we'll put a minimum of 2 meetings anticipated annually with adding a sentence that says the committee will have the ability to meet up to 4 times annually as needed.
That clarifies it
Okay.
pretty good.
Well, no
And
further
that's-
discussion,
that's
so
it.
moved.
Second. We'll get the mayor.
We surprised you, didn't you, Terry?
Good.
Okay, so that was,
Motion, second.
Call to vote.
all right. Motion receives 7 yes votes.
Okay, takes us on to matters, so we'll go around the horn. Councilmember Bredigan.
We just got done with another great parade in the West Garden Grove softball parade, or baseball parade, I'm sorry. And I walked across over to the girls afterwards too and said hi there. But anyway, wonderful weather. Nice, a little chilly in the morning though, but it's good seeing everybody there. And hope to see you again next year.
Cool. John?
That was definitely a fun event. Always look forward to the opening day parade there in West Garden Grove. It was always fun. I just wanted to mention real quick that I had the honor and pleasure of escorting Kelly and A.G. Anvari. They are our Man and Woman of the Year for the Cypress College Americana Awards. It's the 44th annual. It's quite a production they put there, and it's a great benefit nonprofit for raising money for scholarships and all kinds of things for kids and even adults that are going to college there at Cypress College. And Kelly and AG, I've actually used them personally. My mother needed some help when she had a fall, and Kelly and AG own Visiting Angels in Garden Grove and others outside Garden Grove. And they provide adult care, in-home care for adults, and even 24/7 if you need it. So they are actually located in Garden Grove in our industrial area, and they are very good. And not only do they do a great job in their business and what the service that they provide, they have so much involvement in the City Chamber of Commerce and other nonprofits, the Rotary Club and things like that. They're so involved in everything. It was a very good choice, and they well deserved. And they might be here maybe later at another meeting getting a certificate from us. So that's it.
She doesn't have a voice. She's got a lot to say, but she doesn't have a voice. Kim Nguyen.
I would like to specifically invite my colleagues next Friday, March 1st, for the League's general membership meeting. We will be having Congresswoman Katie Porter there to talk about what local issues are being debated in D.C. and how that's going to affect us or benefit us. So again, March 1st, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. at Mission Viejo Country Club, and I hope that some of you can attend. Scott, I hope that's on your calendars. Maybe you or someone from your staff should attend that as well.
I just want to thank the code enforcement team for coming out and for their presentation tonight. It's great to see so much energy and new technology and everything that 2.0 presentation brought to us tonight. And I know whenever I call David or anybody within that department, they're always very quick to get back to me and very responsive. And so I'm just anxious to see, as they build momentum and get out in the community, how things improve throughout Garden Grove. Just a couple of other small things. Read Across America Day is March 1st, and I'll be reading at Garden Park Elementary School. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if any of you are reading at other schools, but that's a really fun opportunity. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the rain will stay away in the morning for the Garden Grove Pony Baseball opening ceremonies on West Street. It's definitely baseball season, so I'll be there to speak at that. And finally, just on vector-related news, there is a chance for rain this weekend, so please make sure you dump and drain standing water. That's it.
Not sure if can stay alert because we've been under the very, very strong cough medicine. And so I will just pass and hopefully can go home early and rest.
Scott?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Kloppenstein, for your comments about code enforcement. And Mr. Mayor, I know you mentioned in your recognition of them the tough job that they have, and they have a very, very difficult job. They're never really making anybody really too happy. On one hand, we want them to do enforcement for the beautification of our city and for the standards. And then, as we all know, sometimes when they're enforcing the code, I'll get phone calls from the public. I know all of you will get phone calls from the public, and so then, we circle back with them and we try and ask them, well, what exactly, why did it get to this point, that sort of thing. And so it's a tough job for them, and I really appreciate the work that they do. It's hard work, it's difficult work, and a lot of times it takes a lot of discretion to do it the right way, respect our residents, but still at the same time trying to maintain our code. So I wanted to mention that. Secondly, I wanted to, for those people in the public that may not know, I had the great pleasure last week of appointing Captain Tom DeRay as our new police chief. Captain DeRay, for those of you who may not know, is a 29-year veteran of our Garden Grove Police Department, born and raised in Garden Grove, and has spent his entire career with our police department. So very excited to have him come on board, and he will be sworn in on April 20th, which will coincide with the day that our current police chief, Todd Elgin, gets a chance to finally retire. And so Captain DeRay will take over on April 20th. So I know we all wish him good luck in his work. And then finally, I want to mention we do have on March 4th at 5:30 PM, which is this Monday, we have our study session with OCFA on, they'll have a good opportunity to spend some time talking about performance standards, response times, which I know is important to all of you. So that will be right here in Committee Room B on Monday at 5:30. So, it's an open meeting to the public as well. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I do need to report that there was no reportable action taken in closed session, and I did recuse myself on the labor negotiations due to, in case you discussed those CFA matters.
I do believe we have another closed session item too.
Oh, you were not done?
Yep.
Okay. Well, then, part of the announcement is that you're going back to closed session.
Okay. With that, we shall adjourn to closed session. Thank you.